Hello everybody, and welcome to the first episode in a series that I'm going to be doing here on my channel that is called Finish or DNF. So this is basically going to be a series of experiment kinds of reading vlogs that are going to basically use books or series that I have either heard about or that I've been recommended because of things I've enjoyed or that I've seen on social media that I'm really unsure of whether or not I'm going to like them, or they were basically viewer recommendations from you guys. So this basically though is going to involve reading more specifically series than standalones, but standalones could always be involved in this if that is what I would like to do. But basically the idea is that each vlog is going to involve me doing some reading and trying to be spoiler free as best I can involving series, because I would like to try to make this as accessible for people who maybe haven't read these series themselves. And the goal is obviously to finish those series, usually probably going to be a max of 5 books series. Anything past that I probably won't do because it's a little bit too much. And they're basically going to go over the course of the given month. So for this one, we are starting on August 1st. I've reached my page goal that I wanted to for other things in the day today, and we're going to get started with our first book for this first episode, which is going to be going through the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this. I know a lot of people have also hated this because of the very toxic relationship that there is within this story, and also the fact that there is some pretty interesting, I guess we'll say, descriptions and kinds of characters. I believe there is a person in this book that is called Tawny that is also a person of color, which is a little suspicious in my mind because, yeah, that's not something you should do when you are naming characters, especially that are of color. So, I don't know. We'll see. But my biggest concern is obviously going to be the fact that this does deal with a very toxic, apparently, relationship between the main character and the main love interest. The only thing I really know about this is that it involves a maiden character named Poppy who is never to be touched. She's kind of basically like this forbidden fruit of certain kinds in this world. And she ends up creating a relationship with her bodyguard, which is like a big no-no in this world. So I don't know much more other than that. The idea though with this is I want to see whether or not I can stomach reading this series with the toxic relationship involved, because that seems to be the issue with a lot of people. And so we're either going to finish the entire series that is out to date, or ultimately we will DNF. Basically, this is gonna go as long as I need to until I end up DNFing a book. And quite honestly, if I end up DNFing this first book, I will not be surprised, because I've heard many people say it is very hard to stomach at some points. But of course my battery is gonna die, even though I just swapped it out, but apparently this battery did not charge correctly, so that's fun. And my other battery is currently charging because that's also dead, so I'll have to check in with you guys at another point in this, but we're going to get started with this today while I am on sprints for Witchathon with some of the hosts for it. So hopefully we'll see how the first little bit of this goes, and I'll update you guys a little bit later. Hey guys, so it is now the next day. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, and I have about 15 minutes before I go into my meeting for today, but I wanted to quickly update you guys because I did get about the first 50 pages of this read, and I already am seeing a lot of ick. That whole second chapter where like we have our first makeout scene with Hawk and Poppy is like super icky, because like, why would you not tell him that you are in the room? He obviously thinks that you're somebody else, like, and the fact that she just goes along with it is disgusting to me. That's almost like a lack of consent, because he doesn't know who she is. He can't consent to her if she's not the person that he already had consensually done things with. Like, that just was really disturbing to me, and the pure fact that like she didn't want to stop him from continuing what he was doing, even though she knows that she's not supposed to like involve herself in any way. Like, obviously she you know, has these things going on where like she can't have anybody touch her, she can't be with anybody, she can't experience pleasure because there is this like thing with the maidens where they're considered like goddess-like, and they're in a way something tied to, not like as a sacrifice for the gods. It's not, I don't think it's anything like, you know, they're gonna sacrifice the virgins to the gods or whatever, but something close to that effect. Why would she allow this to happen? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I understand she's curious, and I understand she wants to be able to experience pleasure, and she didn't ask to be a maiden. She didn't ask to have this happen to her. That whole scene was just rife with ickiness, and I already hate that. Like, come on now. That's not okay. Like, I don't give a shit who it is. If it's a man or a woman or a non-binary person, you have two people and you have one person who thinks the other person is somebody that they are not, and they are doing things with that other person under the guise that they are somebody else. That is a non-consensual thing, because the real person that's underneath the mask or whatever the crap, that's not the person that they're signing up to do things with. That's not okay. That's not okay to me. That is like disgusting in my book. So I don't know what to think about this right now. Like, I really could DNF it from that point, but I want to know whether or not she gets punished, like, and if anybody finds out about what's going on between, you know, her and Hawk, because obviously she's like enamored with him. Well, I wouldn't say enamored. It is more lustful, I think, than anything, as opposed to like insta love. But she's very attracted to Hawk, obviously. Like, you learn very quickly, she's like, since he came to be one of her bodyguards, she's been like, drooling from the mouth kind of thing. Like, this man is beautiful, this man is gorgeous, like, if only I had the ability to actually, you know, jump into bed with him like a normal person would. But I don't know, I want to know if she's gonna get caught. That's the only thing that's keeping me going right now, is I want to know if somebody catches her, and especially if Hawk realizes that she is who she, you know, really is, because he doesn't know that this person that he just almost slept with, that he thought was his, you know, girly friend or whatever the fact, he doesn't know that she's the maiden. So how does he find out about that, and what are the consequences of that if they get caught? Because it's not good things, I already can tell you that. It would not be very good things. It's got that kind of like the Mummy movies, that Nux in the Moon vibe, where, like, you know, the pharaoh said that, like, as his mistress, she's not allowed to be touched by anybody, and anybody that touches her will die, and so then he has like all the coal painted on her to kind of showcase if somebody touches her, because it will smear if somebody touches her. Even just like friendly wise, like, it doesn't matter. If somebody touches her, they're gonna die. That's kind of the vibe I get from this, is like, if anybody, like, more specifically sexually, like, assaults her or, you know, has sex with her in general, they're not gonna go through good things. And I'm assuming that the maiden is also gonna be punished for that. So, you know, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna try to pick this up again later today, because I just need to reach my reading goal. I basically have this as kind of a back burner almost, where if I complete my reading goal for the day, that's when I'll pick this up, kind of thing. That's what I did yesterday. Yeah, not starting off very great, but I guess we'll have to see how things fare. But I would not be surprised, like I had said at the beginning of this, if I end up DNFing at this book, because of the fact that I've heard a lot of people say that this is a really hard series to enjoy, because of especially the toxic relationship that there ends up being between Hawk and Poppy. But even just from the get-go, it's not very fun. So we'll see. But I'm gonna go right now because I have to go get into my meeting, and then I will speak to all you guys when I've made any more progress with that. Okay, just filmed the opening clip for my Wheel of D20 vlog, and we're gonna switch over to From Blood and Ash since I've reached my reading goal for today. I hope the next 50 pages of this is better, because like I said, this really gave me the ick when I read this last night. So I guess we'll see. I'm gonna give it like every 50 pages, kind of like figure out what I'm feeling and go from there. I have to try to get like 10% of the way through this though for me to feel comfortable with like DNFing at any point, which this one is about, oh gosh, I don't even know. I think it's 613 pages, so I have to probably get to like at least page 60, so I'm not that far off actually. I'm on like page 52, so I have to read like a few more pages really to meet that 10%. And while I read the next 50 some pages, I'm gonna play some Animal Crossing because I finally finished the game for the second time, and I now have Roost making his cafe in my museum, and I have yet to see it because it's been like 3 days I think since I last played. So I'm gonna go do that and go do my island duties for the day. Okay, so I've done about another 50 some pages worth of reading, and I'm going to be going to bed here soon, but I'm currently on page 107. I'm on chapter 6, so I read like 55 pages basically with the audiobook. So there was a scene that I just read that involved Poppy being assaulted by this guy who is like a close friend of a really powerful person in this world, not like the ultimate ruler of the world, but like obviously somebody who has a lot of sway over her. Like nothing like super explicit happens, it's just like he grabs her, he gropes her, and kind of threatens her with the power he holds over her, which she says is because of the fact that like she wronged him at one point when she was younger, and so like he harasses her constantly, her and her brother, for that. In this last 50 pages, we learn a lot about what exactly she's able to do, because I guess, I don't know if this is like part of being a maiden in particular, but Poppy has like these powers that are like really important, like not many people have them at all in this world, and there's also this thing about being cursed in this world, or being part of the accursed. One particular scene that happened just here at the end of chapter 5 leads me to believe there's some kind of form of like vampire idea going on in this, because of the fact that when they talk about the accursed, it's like they get bitten by something or something attacks them basically, and then the person that was attacked, if they take on the curse, they start to transform into something darker and deadlier, and you have to stop them from turning into that by like basically killing them with fire and bloodstone, and like you can use a stake form of it. So I'm guessing it's some kind of vampire. Nothing explicitly said. There is like some historical stuff involved with that, in terms of the fact that there was a war years ago that kind of like set a lot of things into motion. And right after Poppy starts getting groped by this guy, you know, they hear screaming and find out that one of their servants was killed and had puncture wounds on her neck. So again, very likely some kind of vampire-like creature, if not just entirely vampires. I'm now a little more than 100 pages into this. It's not like awful. I'm feeling like I'm not paying attention as much to the world though. And I think that that's partially my fault because of the fact that I was distracted. I was like not fully enveloped in the story and just, you know, playing Animal Crossing, which I got for the most part like what the story is going on about. Like obviously there's this curse in the world and the maiden is somehow like involved in that. Either Poppy herself has powers that's like unlike many people, but it's either because of the fact that she's a maiden or because Poppy herself just for some reason has powers. I don't know what. I don't think I remember them saying anything about whether or not all maidens had this, and like the ascension that the maidens go through that we are leading up to with Poppy is kind of expressed as if it's like a sacrifice, which makes sense because of the fact that, you know, they want her to be considered pure and untouched and virgin basically. So it's similar I think in that regard because of the way that Poppy explains it when she's talking to her handmaiden Tawny, who is also like her best friend. They kind of talk about it where Tawny's trying to convince Poppy about how the ascension's going to be great, it's going to be perfect, she's going to go to the capital and live there for the rest of her life, and everything will be fine. But Poppy is kind of like, that's how I'm going to die. Like, they're gonna kill me and then I'm gonna be gone. Like, I don't go someplace nice. Like they just kill me and that's it. That's what it sounds like. So, I don't know. I'm a little confused on some of the things so far. Hopefully things get explained a little bit more. In this world, the maiden is supposed to kind of be veiled. She's supposed to be hidden. No one's supposed to know what she looks like, kind of thing. And it's an interesting concept because she's also not supposed to learn how to protect herself. And yet she has people that she is involved with that are trying to help protect her. And they don't necessarily like tell her she can't do things or can't not do things kind of thing. Like they're not necessarily like telling her she shouldn't rebel, but they're not stopping her. One of which being one of her brothers, Ryland, and the guy that kind of taught her how to protect herself, his name is Victor, he's another guard. Those two characters seem to be the ones that are pushing her to be different than what I believe the society suspects of maidens. And I don't know why that is, why specifically those two guys are kind of deferring from what they probably were taught, and whether or not it's because of like some issues that have been going on in the world where things are starting to change in terms of what, you know, some people are starting to think about maidens should be doing, which makes sense because Poppy supposedly, I guess, is the bringer of a new era, because like ever since she was born she was chosen to be the maiden, which is kind of bringing in this new life to this world. So I don't know if like these guys are kind of another representation of the changes going on in this world where like instead of it being very fragile and demure, if women are going to start, you know, becoming a little bit more headstrong, stronger in general, if they're going to start fighting. I guess I wasn't really expecting much from this because of the fact that everybody tells me that it's like you're either going to really love it or you're going to really hate it. And I'm kind of leaning more towards not caring. Not so much hate, but not caring. But I am officially 10% of the way through this now. And I, at this point, do still want to know what's going on. But I don't know whether if the next 50 pages I'll read are going to be any different. We will see. But at this point, I don't necessarily want to DNF it. So that's promising to some degree. But we'll kind of see how things go as I read more. So anyway, I'm going to head out to bed for right now. And I will talk to all of you guys tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It is 8:15 in the morning, and last night I did decide to DNF from Blood and Ash. I already had 2 scenes within the first 100 pages that were basically borderline sexual assault or were non-consensual, nearly sex scenes, not quite sex scenes, but were headed that way, and I was not okay with those. And that's just one of the first problems. The second thing really is that while there was a mystery that was being divulged over the course of time involving a certain group of people that in this world are thought to have either completely been eradicated or are just no longer around, they're coming back, and it looks like they're either trying to frame another group of people for murders that are going on in this town, or at the very least they are actively killing people in the kingdom, and obviously Poppy is trying to figure out what's going on with that. I didn't care. I didn't care about that. I did not care that somebody fairly close to Poppy dies at some point in this. I didn't care that she was dealing with these things about her and Hawk. I don't want to waste my time on this series because I don't care for the writing style. I don't care about the characters enough to want to continue. Poppy to me is just this whiny little bitch who needs to buck the fuck up because of the fact that she was supposedly born to be this person. And like, I would think that after having been in this position for a long time as now an 18-year-old young woman, you would fucking get that you're not getting out of this shit. You have to do what they tell you to. Don't care enough. I don't care about this at all. So officially DNFing this and ending this vlog. I know it's actually quite short, but I wasn't expecting to want to at least DNF the first book. So the way this series usually is going to go is if I DNF any book in the series, that's done. We're done with the video. We're not doing anything else with it, because how can I continue with the series if I've already DNF'd one of the books? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I was hoping though with this series I would at least get through the entirety of the first book, but I don't care enough to continue. Like, I got about probably almost 20% of the way through. I was like 120 some pages through, and I just don't care. I really don't. I don't want to read this anymore. I don't really see why it's so popular. I do see a lot of the issues that are within it. I just don't get why this is so popular, because there is nothing enjoyable about this reading experience at all. There's nothing enjoyable about the relationship that there is. And maybe it's because I didn't get to a certain part that like everything turns out great, but the first 120 some pages was pure agony. So I don't know if I want to continue putting myself through that agony to get to those really good parts, which might not even be that good. Honestly, especially if this is a toxic relationship, I don't believe there is anything good coming out of that. So we're done with this. But thank you guys for joining me in this first episode of my Finish or DNF series. The next episode is going to be dedicated to a series that I think I'm actually going to enjoy, and is actually a shorter series. It is a finished trilogy, and it is a viewer recommendation from Ash Reads Fantasy, and it is the Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. Now, I have a little bit of a hit or miss thing with V.E. Schwab. I have read 2 of her books. One I gave a 3-star, one I gave a 4-star. So she's a good enough author for me that I will read what she writes, but I don't really feel like I found anything from her as of yet that I have like been blown away by. But I've heard everybody say about this series that this is like her best series, other than probably Vicious and Vengeful. This is the series that is like, when you go to read V.E. Schwab, this is like top tier, best thing she's ever written, especially once you get past the first book. Even though the first book's really good, the other 2 are even better. So hopefully this series will end up being a lot better. But I will be reading this series in September, so be sure to look out in September for a video on that. So if you guys would like to recommend me any series that are going to be things that you think I'm going to like. Please keep the series to about maximum 5 books so that I can actually make it through that series in one given month. But even if there are standalones, I would love to take them as recommendations and be able to make a video out of reading them. So if you have suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to try to obtain them, and I will see if I can find things that I really enjoy, because I have basically a series dedicated for September and a series dedicated for October. So I will need more content as things go on, and if I don't hear any suggestions, there are plenty of other series I can think of that I would like to do a Finish or DNF series with. So don't worry if you don't have any immediate suggestions. I will take them as time comes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.